Boom to the hay, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individuals part of the collective. Welcome to Monday Morning Quarterback, segment here on the OMSR. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. We're talking, just briefly, this is a quickie intro, mind you. Some stuff coming up on Theherd. Part 1, doing everything he can to try to get Nick Saban to go to Texas. And then in part 2, Kobe's first game back and reality check for the Lakers. The Kobe Shaq era is done. Now, being in SoCal and my brother-in-law being, one of the greatest Lakers fans ever, they are not gonna like hearing that. But there comes a point in time. It's just like when Karl Malone and John Stockton weren't with the Utah Jazz anymore. It's like that. All right. So just briefly, you see from still sporting the Red Sox beard, you can finally stand it. Kimpak Oracle to the sports gods, 1300-year-old Buddha done in the Angkor Wat style. Few of the Pi Kappa Alpha House Sweethearts, you of you chapter Alpha Tau, giving you props. Dwayne, darn that ultimate sports fan. She's darning netting a lot after all the conference championship games from the weekend and the graphic from the channel. Alright, so just a little bit further, I'm going to back up calling up here. Back up calling up. Yeah, he has a point with regard to boredom and the type A driven personality. But I'm going to submit to you all here that true contentment is not always necessarily having to go out and find that next great challenge. It's like, how much money is enough? How many cool 3-4 cars is enough? How many bedposts, whatever you want to call it, for lack of a better term, conquests is enough? I submit to you all, being a Taoist for 25 years, I do have a 1300-year-old Buddha. I think I'm qualified to say this. True contentment is the challenge. And so, speaking about past analogies of great coaches yesteryear, as applying that, using that as a paradigm to apply to Nick Saban, it's possible. And then in part 2, what to do with the Lakers, don't want to end up the middle of the pack, but he also goes off and says, well, you should, he's almost kind of saying, I'm not saying you're saying this, Colin, that if you try to, lose on purpose, or you get this, franchise-changing top 5 draft pick. I think being, the 4-year veteran here playing basketball at multiple levels until I blew up my ankle. I can tell you, many of those top numbers within the first round of the NBA draft, they don't always work out. There's no guarantee. He's talking about, hey, you don't want to end up with pick number 14. Really? Why not? If you pick the right dude, the right university, who, went through the tournament strong, absolutely nothing wrong with that. All right, just a reminder, my sponsor is the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright. It covers the fair use standard, thumbs up, minimal use, and derivatives. So all the video highlights courtesy to Theherd and Colin Coward. Everything else, the OMSR. All right, that's it. I'm out here. Thanks for watching. No silly DUIs while you're out there. Roll clips.
Let me just throw something out, and people that listen to this show know I've got theories. My book is full of them, and that doesn't mean they're all right, but they're my theories. Of 10 years ago in this country, USC was on top of the world with Pete Carroll. Urban Meyer was on top of the world with Florida, and Mack Brown was on top of the world with Texas. How many years ago was that? Like 7, 8, something like that. All 3 of them were toppled. What happened? Basically the same 3 to 4 things.
Moved on to a new challenge.
They'd lose a game they were supposed to win. Mac started losing to Bob Stoops. Pete lost to USC. They lose a star quarterback they can never replace.
UCLA.
13-0.
Correction.
7-6 the next year. Mac's never replaced Colt McCoy. Then a really good coach moves into the neighborhood. Jim Harbaugh, Chip Kelly to the Pac-10. Nick Saban moved in. He was Urban Meyer's neighbor. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State started being a big headache for Mack Brown and Bob Stoops for a while. Think about Nick Saban. He loses a big game he's supposed to win. They don't have a replacement for A.J. McCarron. Gus Malzahn, Kevin Sumlin have moved into the neighborhood. Both run offenses built to beat Nick Saban. Not much Nick can do with running quarterbacks. You know, you start looking around, these things don't last forever. That's why these rumors persist about Nick Saban to Texas. That's why they persist. And I've never thought it's going to happen. But what if Texas goes and says, here's $10 million and we'll give you a third of the Longhorn Network? You don't know that Nick Saban hasn't had a bad investment or two. More money you make, more money, more problems. Somebody goes to Nick Saban and says, Nick, $8 million a year, and we'll buy out Alabama, and we'll give you a percentage of the Longhorn Network. He could have a $100 million net worth. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but you just never know in these things. And I'll tell you right now, the people I trust in college football, and they worship Saban, they think the run's over. Oh, they'll be good. They're going to be a nightmare for him. Great recruiters who use offenses built to beat that way. They do not have a replacement at A.J. McCarron's level. They do not. You lose a game, you lose some momentum. So everybody thought Pete would last forever. Everybody thought, and the other thing, Pete started sniffing around. Urban started, you know, health issues. Nick starts to, a bunch of NFL jobs are coming up. You know, Pete and Nick are very similar. You know, guys who had kind of failed in the NFL, and, you know, people said that, and they go to college and dominate. And what if the Houston Texans went to Nick Saban this morning? $8 million a year, 2% ownership of an NFL team. He's leaving Alabama tomorrow for that potentially. And by the way, we have a terrible record. There's 9 good quarterbacks. Go draft a quarterback. You can inherit Matt Schaub. You just don't know in life. The whole era of the lifer coach is over. Here's the downside to dominating college football. Coaches get bored. Chip Kelly told somebody that I know he got bored at Oregon. I mean, Nick Saban's getting tired. You know, you only get to coach like 10 games, 12 games in college. You get up to 20 in the NFL if you go to the Super Bowl. And every game, I mean, Nick likes to coach. You know, in the NFL, you got to coach more, and you don't have to constantly replace your coordinators because they have pensions, so you don't lose your coordinators. For really driven Type A personalities, nobody stays anymore. Everybody thought Chris Peterson was going to stay in Boise. Boise tapped out. It's over. It's a small stadium. Well, what can you do beyond what's been done? You going to keep beating New Mexico by 30? You can't blame Chris Peterson. He gave you his life for 10 years. But all these Pete Carrolls and Urban Meyers and Jim Harbaughs and Nick Sabans, you know, we're all sure they're going to stay there forever. Guess what? Attorneys, they want to be partners, and then they want to get more bonus as a partner. The heart surgeon wants to get a higher salary, so he gets his own practice with his other partners, so he gets more. Type A personalities are different. They don't think like you and I. First of all, they're not afraid of failing. They've got bigger egos, more ambition, so they love challenges. Nick's topped out at Alabama. Couldn't you argue that? I could argue that. Now, I still think he'll stay at Alabama. You could argue that. You know, you open a wine store, then you want to franchise it, then you want to license it, make more money, then you want to sell it, grow the brand, blah, 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 blah. That's the way business guys work. That's how Type A's work. So I don't know. I don't know.